Underlord pick, like with the trophy aura, it's almost impossible to last hit with a Riki, right? Like you get a level of, mostly at that level 2 mark with the trophy aura. Riki just can't last hit anymore. He's got such a crappy base damage as it is. And Underlord just makes it that much worse. I gotta agree, I love the Underlord coming out, though I would agree it is also not the most popular offlane, but, you know, in all fairness, in pub games at least, it has a very high win rate. So, you have that going for you. Now, CR, they do go into a puck pickup, so even more AoE control. You have the huge Dream Core that can really be spammed out about every minute or so. I like what I'm seeing here from CR.
Definitely a really strong opening for CR. I think all of it just jives rather well together. Like, all these spells do line up quite nicely. The Underlord, the Puck, combinations you get from that. The Will-O-Wisp from the Keeper of the Light, keeping people in that pit a bit longer if you play your positioning right as well, and spacing of those spells. Just a lot to build off of from this kind of lineup, and none of them are really extremely cooldown reliant. You can make an argument about the Underlord's Dark Rift. That's not a major spell you play around anyway. So that's something CR does have in its favor. Boom, do pick up the Templar Assassin next. That's an interesting one. Into the Underlord, that's not an easy time, especially if they decide to just throw a curveball there and throw the Underlord mid. We have seen that in response to a sneaky TA pickup as well. So you can kind of switch those lane around and just give the TA a hard time. That's something CR can fall back to, which makes Mikado's job in that hero much harder if they do opt to kind of go that way.
Right. I mean, the thing with this Boom Esports draft is it seems like it just gets online a lot faster, doesn't it? Like with that TA pickup. Works very well up against the Void Spirit as well. Like, just, you know, you have this hero that loves to burst people down, but TA just pops refraction, and suddenly all that damage you're trying to get out just does nothing. So I do like what I'm seeing here from Boom in response. Still, one more ban out from Boom Esports is CR. They did get rid of the LC. Boom, what are we getting rid of here?
I'm kind of surprised the Oracle has just kind of slid through, not being contested by either side at all. Considering how much impact it had in the first 2 games, you'd reckon one of the teams would fall back to it instead, just kind of ignoring it in the bans and in the picks. So it is a bit of a shift out here for both sides.
Well, they're going to take their time with this last ban out. Still 30 seconds reserve time left. And Boom really just slowing it down a little bit. Alright, it'll be the Naga Siren, so they don't want that cheesy kind of pos 1 to play against, and I can't blame them for that. Obviously, Naga is kind of infuriating to have to go against when you're playing as Riki as well, because you just don't have the illusion clear. Boom Esports.
10 seconds remaining.
They still seemingly need an offlane hero. Someone to really initiate these team fights for FBZ.
Radiant team pick.
Alright. Centaur comes out. Pretty popular offlane. Why the hell not?
It's a solid pick for Boom. Nothing really to, it just slides into any kind of lineup just fine. Can allow you to retreat and engage on your own terms. I think laning partnership with Litra the Tusk is going to be pretty potent. That's something that CR is going to have to watch out for whatever they throw down to that safe lane. It's not going to have the easiest of times with this kind of aggressive setup you can have with 2 of these supports. It doesn't really give them the best teamfight control. Like, there's nothing in wide AoE, nothing like the Pit from the Underlord and the Dream Coil from the Puck. So in that sense, I still favor CR when it comes down to a full 5v5 brawl, but you do still have decent enough control from Boom. You are going to be relying a bit more on your Lich Chain Frost to land, just to get yourself some control, and CR does last pick that Terrorblade, so You still see that illusion spam coming out here for CR. I think that Terrorblade is going to have a pretty decent time here. You don't have the best magic damage coming out from Boom Esports to punish that pick, and it should be able to ride through that early damage from the Riki and the Templar Assassin just fine. So the weakest point for that Terrorblade is going to be the laning phase. I think Boom has to really prioritize applying that aggression onto VT Faded. Try to shut down the Terrorblade from having a good time. Try to play around the moments when he doesn't have Metamorphosis, one of the biggest weaknesses of that hero, and give VT Faded a hard time. That's going to be the game plan here for Boom. At the same time, of course, you need to give Mikoto enough space in mid, give him some jungle space as well, stack some creeps up to ensure that your TA gets a pretty good timer there. But CR, it's much more straightforward. Ride through that early game, which Boom Esports can kind of take over, and you pretty much have better control, earlier timings on your Void Spirit and Puck, and potentially better scaling from your Terrorblade.
Gotta admit as well with the, I mean, it's not so much of a large reduction, but having the coddle there with the Terrorblade, John, Metamorphosis is not an ultimate ability, so you can lower that cooldown of the meta with the Chakra Magic, and you know, any amount of time being reduced with that Metamorphosis is always quite nice for the Terrorblade.
Definitely. It's always helpful, of course. That's something that you would want. I'm not sure if you're really going to be prioritizing that. Like, that's 6 seconds off. It will stack up. I'm just not sure if you're going to get the timing off every single time with that kind of combination. And whether or not they're going to run that laning combination as well is a question. Cockle, Terrorblade.
Right? Seems alright.
It's alright. Like, it doesn't quite strike me as the most potent lane. At the very least, you do defend the Terrorblade just fine with the Kotl. You're gonna need maybe point in Blinding Light to just ensure that your Terrorblade's not gonna be jump. But I don't see too much aggressive movement coming out from that combination. Well, unless you can consistently land your Illuminate, but you run the risk of shoving out a lane if your angling's not right.
But you don't really want to be aggressive with this Terrorblade, do you? Like, you just want to secure the farm anyway.
It really depends on what Boom ID wants. Like, if Boom ID is going to be running down at you, you don't really have much of a presence once you run out of that mana for the Illuminate, or if you don't level Blinding Light. It does look like Mushi does go for Blinding Light, so they can kind of stave off that aggression from Boom, potentially. It does look like Hyde is going to be on that bot lane, along with FBZ. So you do have a lot of potential for chain stunning there, although Hyde is walking to the top instead.
30 seconds to battle.
That he is.
I do not.
Now I'm gonna say hello, Ohio. Gonna give Dreamers a tap on the shoulder. Hyde gonna rotate around with the tag team, but doesn't pop it quite yet, as well, they will spot out Ohio, so Blink Strike gonna be there. Ohio tag team up. Blinding Light is gonna be there, but I don't believe it'll be enough, as Ohio will be the first blood for Dreamers so on the Riki. That is a very nice start coming out for this Boom ID side.
Yeah, not only that, but they managed to grab themselves 2 bounty runes, only one going the way of CR, and they did have to deny the last one as well. So you are seeing a bit of a better start here. You are forced to keep Mushi up top as well, try to get control in this lane.
Yeah, you definitely do. The tri-lane continues as Boom ID aren't removing their own tri-lane yet, and you know, with the task, it is a very strong tri-lane to have. Plenty of kill potential here for Boom ID, and well, this really isn't going to favor CR, because you don't really want to leave VT Faded here up against FBZ by himself.
I mean, the moment that Metamorphosis fades away, FBZ is going to have pretty decent time to clear out the wave. At level 1, the center is not much of a major threat. Once you hit level 2, level 3 is when it really starts to shine. You don't want to be leaving that Terrorblade alone for just way too much downtime on that Metamorphosis.
Hyde gonna move in with the tag team, but he's very, very low right now, and Ohio gonna be able to pick up the kill on the puck. Not really sure why you run in that low, but he ends up paying for it.
Strange decision to make. Kezcute as well, just in the middle of the two supports, is forced to TP back to his tier 1. Does get away from any potential moves. This does kind of free up Hyde to go to a different lane. He does end up on bot. He can be there to apply some damage to VT Faded if they wish. Again, he still doesn't have level 2, so there's no snowball, no ice shards just yet. It's going to be a while until that combination is up and running.
Mid lane, we do see Makoto up against Ben-Hur on the Void Spirit, and well, so far, both sides are having a very even time, though it looks like Makoto is slowly pulling ahead on the TA, which I suppose in some sense is to be expected. However, Makoto is lower in level. Ben-Hur finding an XP advantage very early on.
Yeah, just a little bit more for himself there. I think that's down to perhaps Denies. Although Mikado does catch up, and I think it's at level 4 when it starts to get a bit better for the TA in terms of matching up and of the harass. I mean, yeah, on paper, this should be a better lane for the TA. You just don't have any good way of burning through those refraction charges from Ben-Hur, so that is going to be something he has to watch out for.
Well, the TB apparently went down bot lane. I apologize, we're having a bit of an issue, so I'm trying to fix it as we speak, John. But Terrorblade's life been lost, and that's what you really get for leaving FBZ alone down there. And well, Mushi has rotated there on the Keeper of the Light now, but Hyde will follow on the Tusk, and they intend to make it as hellish as possible for this Terrorblade, as Mushi's going to try and be as disruptive as possible on the Keeper of the Light, but as the Coddle, all you can really do is spam Blinding Light every time they make a jump. As top lane, Dreamer Cell going to go onto Ohio. Dreamer Cell will pick up his second kill of the game. So the Ricky really finding quite a bit of net worth very early on.
Definitely. You expect a bit more presence from an Underlord lane, even against like a Ricky. And you mentioned like the Firestorm should be doing a lot more. The Atrophy Aura should be making it hard for Dream to farm up. He's still hitting a pretty good stride here. His last hits aren't quite up there, 18, 19 to 2, but that's still keeping in pace with the Terrorblade down bot, and at the very least, Dreamocell is finding those kills. So overall, a bit of a better time for Boom ID when it comes to the laning phase.
Hyde gonna find Mushi on the Keeper of the Light, and now with that, it should be a very easy kill. FBZ with the follow-up Hoof Stomp, and I mean, that duo, that combination of heroes is just so effective. If you do find a nice support pick like the Keeper of the Light, FBZ and Hyde, surely just to continue this real aggression they're bringing out in this lane.
There's really not too much you can expect from the duo of Terrorblade and Kotal to dissuade aggressive movement. Like this is going to be a massive vulnerability for VT Faded. Like right now, he doesn't have Metamorphosis. Hyde can just walk up and try something again.
He's going to try. Shards do land. Hyde with the tag team as well. He does still have a snowball, but they do get the Hoof Stomp off in time. VT is a bit tanky with that armor. It looks like they won't really be able to get through the armor of the Terrorblade this time, especially considering Mushi was there and ready to go with the Blinding Light anyway.
Oh, snap.
So things will just continue as per normal. It's a 1-4 Boom ID. It's really hard with this kind of draft, right? Because once they get ahead, it is extremely hard to slow them down.
Definitely. Like, Boom, they just come online and snap with their TA, and Mikado is already having that good time down mid. The Ricky will take a bit more, like, even if he's having a pretty decent time up top. The itemization and progression for that itemization does take a bit longer, but the same thing can be said for CR. Like, Terrorblade is, you know, even if he's not exactly missing out on last hits here, did die once, is under a lot of pressure in his lane, and even if he rides through this lane at this exact pace, You're waiting for a couple of items to come out from this TB before he's ready to go. And you're going to have to look at the Underlord, look at the Void Spirit to really pick up that slack. And right now, you are getting good farm on your Underlord, but does feel like Ben-Hur is just struggling a bit too much against that TA.
Stampede to be popped. FBZ just trying to run away from Ben-Hur, who's getting very, very aggressive with that Void Spirit. And of course at level 6, it is a huge power spike for the Void Spirit, so you've got to just run away if this man rotates at that 6 mark. There's just no point fighting with the amount of burst he has. Top lane, Xiao Yu. Pack team going to come out. Xiao Yu with the Pit of Malice down. Is losing a lot of HP with that Tricks to the Trade, and Mushi doesn't connect with the Blinding Light onto Dreamer Cell. And Ohio going to join in. They're going to try and at least dish out a bit of harassment, but they've got to be careful. In fact, never mind. Ben-Hur jumps in now. KSQ does melt, and they will also find Hyde. A very nice rotation coming out from that Void Spirit, but they don't really find the Riki.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Yeah, I mean, you force that rotation out from CR, you don't manage to find a Riki. I think overall, you're still kind of happy finding those kills on the supports. At the very least, Ben-Hur is the one cleaning up. So you are getting a little bit more for your Void Spirit, and he's the hero that really needs to get that good start going for himself. Again, he had a bit of a slow start in his mid lane matchup, but as long as he keeps finding these kills and pressure towers with VT faded, he should be able to get his foot back in, and he should be able to clear out this top 1.
He's going to try. Looks like it'll be no problem for him. He does pick it up. FBZ may start trying to work down that bottom tier 1 tower, but before that, Ohio is going to be chased down by the Riki. He'll be okay. He'll just orb away. And CR are the first ones. Well, I say the first ones, but their mid tier 1 did go down for that top tier 1 trade, so it wasn't exactly the nicest trade in the world for CR. In fact, Boom ID probably going to be pretty okay with that.
Definitely. It is a much bigger target, that mid tier 1. We talk about it every single time. It gives a lot more control towards the Way of Boom, allows them to play in that jungle area just fine. They are trying to go for wards. KSQ drops a nice sentry, but isn't quite in range to see the obs. This gets taken out in the end.
Ben-Hur, 8th Remnant, going to save him from Hyde, but Hyde is continuing the chases. He does have Snowball. Traps are going to be there. Ohio just orbs in and dies to the Roshan. I believe he was being chased down, but Ben-Hur is continuing to be chased. And Makoto just going to start taking his stacks away. Ben-Hur going to try and contest, but Hyde is still waiting. He will Astral Step away. And, well, bot lane. FBZ does pick up a solo kill out onto Mushi. Mushi just trying to get his outpost back, and he does manage to get it in time, but it costs him his life.
I think that's a worthwhile trade. At the very least, you do keep control of that one outpost. You give a lot more EXP towards your entire team for the cost of the port kill. Not too bad for CR. Going to be a lot happier to spread that EXP out, especially to your cores, who again need to get as much as they can early on. You want your Void Spirit to start snowballing soon. You want your Underlord to be able to apply that pressure across the map. And it kind of has slowed down here for CR. They're the ones playing a bit more passively. Bloom has been on the get-go. Everyone besides Ben-Hur has really just been focusing on farming up.
Mushi again will just get back to stacking for his team. Problem is, those stacks are very open to the side of Boom to try and take if they do manage to breach that that triangle. Well, Boom gonna be in a bit of an engagement here. Ohio getting caught out with a startling gaze, though he will manage to orb away. In fact, KSQ is the one to drop first. They do commit the Stampede to try and get out of range of VT Faded on the TB. Now the bottom T1 tower does end up dropping, but they are going to try and defend this. It's still not down yet. FBZ taking a lot of damage from that Terror Blade, but now Hyde will move in and Dreamer Cell. He gets Ohio, but they have lost the Tusk. Can you keep this fight up? Dreamer Cell, he's going to keep moving forward onto Zhao Yu now. Like, they'd love to find Void Spirit Ben-Hur. He does get the 8th remnant off. FBZ starting to fall low, and the Pit of Malice has been placed, but Ben-Hur now going to be the target. They do find a nice trade as Dreamer Soul needs to run out of there, though a nice Will-O-Wisp coming up from Mushin. He knocks back the Ricky, so he does dodge out a tick of the Will-O-Wisp. They do manage to get out of there safely.
Overall, it's still a bit of a win in the end for CR. Do manage to force a lot more from Boom in that response there. They still lose Ben-Hur. That's a pretty big target to lose out on. I think definitely not the hero you'd want to sacrifice there, but they do save VT Faded. They manage to apply some decent damage onto that tier 1, not managing to quite clean it up. And they force Boom to really focus their resources there, which does stop them from farming up. You saw even Makato was in that general area. That just means his Desolator is going to be a bit longer. You know, he's missing out on a couple of camps, but the gold is flowing in, just about 100 away from his last Mithril Hammer. And once you have that up and running on Makato, it should be much easier for him to get the damage out onto these key heroes.
Should be. And he does have it now. The final Mithril Hammer is on the way. He hasn't got really anything queued up after that quite yet, but you'd imagine it'd either be a BKB or a Blink Dagger, as it almost always is. 8th Remnant does connect on Mikoto, but there's no real follow-up to it.
You know, for CR as well, all this downtime is giving an opportunity to VT Faded to try to farm up. It's not quite the same pace as it would be for TA, but you are seeing him start to finish up a couple of key items. He does have his Yashi up. He's had a Ring of Tarrasque for a while, is working towards his Manta style next, and that should give him a little bit more flexibility in these fights, should give him just a little bit more durability as well. And we mentioned from draft, the longer this game goes, the better it is for CR. Boom. Has to try to get that early advantage now and try to really start to shut out that map. Otherwise, the Terrorblade is just going to be a constant issue for Boom.
Smoke will come out from CR. Dreamer Soul would be a fantastic target to find, but he hasn't really attacked anything yet. They're just going to wait at that high ground. But seeing VT Faded there does pretty much indicate the rest of the team is behind him, and in fact he does go for the CS anyway. Now Ohio ready with the Dream Call, they do commit and Ben-Hur jumps in, and the Ricky does not manage to get away. Dreamer Cell giving a mega kill streak to the side of CR. And I'm kind of shocked he went for the CS attempt that early on. It felt like it was kind of obvious that they were going to go for that smoke attempt, but then again, I guess with the outpost that they controlled, they thought they had the control of that jungle. Still, they will also lose Keskute on the Lich, who was caught very out of position.
Yeah, and all of these kills are going to be giving CR a much better time. VT Faded managed to clean up that kill on Dream Hotel as well, so he's getting a lot more on the Terrorblade. He has overtaken the Rick in terms of net worth. They do transition into Metamorphosis as well, down mid, taking out that tier 1 very easily. No contestation coming out from Boom. And that is just going to give an equal amount of control back towards the way of CR. Does mean it's going to be slightly harder for Boom to maintain control in their jungle. You see some lovely wards coming out from CR as well. A nice deep observer ward in that jungle to watch the farming patterns of Boom, and if they don't get the D wards out, that is something CR can exploit quite well. That's what allowed them to get that kill onto the Ricky in the first place.
Well, Now the blink's going to be up on Makoto. It's some pretty nice progression for this TA. Already treads Deso blink up at 16.5 minutes, and they're going to go straight for a Roshan attempt. Still, there is going to be some counters coming in from CR. So that is a huge pit of malice coming in now. Aether and to pick up at least the TA. Still, they will stampede out of there. Boom. Left the Roshan very, very low. And Dreamercell actually finding Ohio again in the back on the puck. Still Makoto now, knowing the puck isn't up, will go back in. Ohio not buying back, and FBZ actually gets a nice two-stomp on Zhao Yu. They do finish off the Roshan to pick up the Aegis, but FBZ gonna fall over. A huge Chain Frost just bouncing between everyone. Zhao Yu, he does go down before the Dark Rift's over, and now they do find Ben-Hur as well. VT Faded gonna try and TP out. Can they get a stun off in time? They cannot, but it's a huge team fight for Boom ID.
Yeah, they managed to really turn that one around. It looked a bit iffy when they were scouted out by a very good drop pit. Unfortunately, every single time Ohio is isolated by Dreamcell and just taken out. They really need that Dream Coil on top of everything else for everything to really fit in. You know, they need that Dream Coil, they need a Will-O-Wisp on top of that pit to get their control out, to manage to pump that damage out. And Boom just managed just to split them up in a very awkward way that CR just cannot get that engagement they're looking for. So CR has to be much more careful when taking those fights. I think you want to group your two supports together just fine. You want Mushi and Ohio to be together along with Xiao Yu, and that's really the key thing for CR to take that control. Without it, Boom can just kind of run around and get whatever they want. And now you have to play into Mikato, who has the Desolator and Blink, along with the 8.
Hide. Smoked up. Oh, in fact, never mind the smoke. He's invis. We're going to head down bot. They'll spot out Zhao Yu on the Underlord, but he's going to hide in the tree line by that tier 2 tower. And instead, they're going to find Ohio again. Dreamercell gets a smoke screen, has a diffusal blade, and it's such an easy kill. Now Makoto jumps in the back, finds Zhao Yu. He will manage to get the TP scroll off, but there's no one to save that bottom tier 2 tower, and Boom ID will happily take that. Just seems like this Dire draft is really starting to overtake this game.
Definitely is. They're starting to hit their timers. This is around the point when they come online. CR just took it a bit too slow in that early point. They didn't really keep a lid onto Mikato once more. So he basically had free reign to farm from the jungle, play catch-up, give himself a bit of a lead. And they just can't deal with the damage coming out from Mikato. He also can help to melt towers now. You see the same thing for Dreamocell. He doesn't have as much on him. Really just the Diffusal and Power Tread so far, but he's been finding the right targets every single time. He's been isolating Ohio. He understands without that puck's control, CR cannot take these fights.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Death's bounty. Illusion.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Now the tier 1 top, Makoto, gonna start setting up for that. Boom ID, just continue this control over the map. You'll see Makoto, he's going for that standard BKB after the Blink Diffuse, Blink Deso, and gonna have it up very, very soon.
Radiant's top tower is under
FBZ as well, he has the full Crimson Guard and Pipe Up on the center. I mean, that is just huge. So hard to take a team fight into both those items. And they're going to try Zhao Yu. We'll get in there with the Pit of Malice. They may find the Centaur, but how do you get everyone else? Will they drop a Will-O-Wisp just on one hero? FBZ, even with the Dream Coil, just to make sure he dies, but he's stampeding now. He's just not dying. The Chain Frost comes in. They claim a 1-for-1 trade. They do end up finding FBZ, but Zhao Yu goes and Hyde also dies. Boom now. Probably needs to back, but Dreamercell, he jumps in after the Void Spirit. In fact, he may find him. Tricks to the trade. trade. Ohio, he does go down to Makoto on the TA, and they do finally find Ben-Hur on that Void Spirit. Now Kezcute going down on the Lich, but Makoto has control over BT Faded, and he's got no way out of there. And look at this, he's going to find the 5th one, Mushi, trying to deny this trap. It's not going to work, Dreamer, so with the tricks of the trade does pick up the kill. But they dropped every single ultimate they had on the Centaur, and it was not enough.
No, it just isn't. You mentioned it earlier, he already has the pipe, he already has the Crimson Guard. It takes a lot of commitment to kill off a Centaur in that way. And if you don't kill him before he gets Stampede off, and FBZ held onto that Stampede for a very long time, then he's always going to be happy. You know, you're wasting time on a tanky hero that really just needs to press Stampede for the most part, maybe get a stun off every now and again. And if he can get that done for his team, they're glad. They can make it work. They lose a couple of heroes in that exchange, but it is a huge win for Boom. That does allow Mikado to finish up his BKB as well. So his Aegis does expire, but he's got the BKB up and running, which means all that control you were looking at is just not there anymore. You're gonna need something like a BKB, an Ags on the puck to get that Dream Coil pierced, to get that control onto the TA, and that's not gonna be up anytime soon from a support puck.
Boom, now looking to chase more. Ben-Hur came back in. That is a dangerous place to be, Ben. And Startling Gaze will hold him down. Now with the smoke screen, they do take him out. The Dream Coil only connected on FBZ. And now they've lost Mushi, so the Keeper of the Light not even there. Zhao Yu should be okay with the Dark Rift. But you lost the 2 for nothing. And they should be able to set up on that mid-tier 2 tower.
It's going to be a pretty straightforward push. You don't have the Dream Coil up. You're going to have Metamorphosis at the very least in 10 seconds, so that option is going to be back to be fatal, although...
Oh, they've been Ohio getting caught again, and that's the deadly part about Dream Missile's Ricky. And now VT faded. He ran into the smoke screen. Zhao Yu will be the one to be picked off anyway. But CR are really starting to fall apart in Game 3. You know, we talked about it in the draft phase. With this kind of draft from Boom, if you give them the lead, it is very hard to slow them down. And that's exactly what they're seeing. In fact, they're looking to go for a tier 3 tower. They don't even have Aegis up anymore, but they still seem to be confident enough, and they will finally back out.
At this point, Boom has everything they could want to really start to apply that pressure. They have been applying that pressure for a while. VT faded, you know, he's been doing fine for himself. He's saving up for a Butterfly. He's skipping out in the BKB now, which is a bit worrisome. I don't think he has enough durability to really ride through the damage Boom ID has just with a mischance on that Butterfly. So it's going to be a bit of a gamble once it's up. Of course, his damage does shoot up by a fair bit, but his durability, whether or not it's going to be enough with just the Butterfly is a different question. He switches out again towards the Scotty. A few more raw stats, or at least I still think the BKB would be a bit better. Having that spell immunity is very valuable in this case to allow himself to get what he needs done.
Jump in. They have found Hyde, who overextended quite a lot. Looks like they're kind of rushing here because they've got a double damage rune active on the TA, but now Dream Coil has been broken on a 3-man Will-O-Wisp. Makoto feels like he has to turn around and does just burst down Mushi. Now they do find Ben-Hur. Ben-Hur, he can't get out of there. The Stampede forward, they can still take this team fight as now the Terrorblade with that double damage really isn't as tanky. Zhao Yu also melts. And they're going to find an 18k net worth lead on Boom, and that's enough. They call GG, and CR will lose this series 2-1 to Boom ID.
Yeah, it was a stronger showing in game number 2 than game 1. Game 3 kind of brought that Boom that we saw in game 1, right? That aggression that we were used to seeing did come out again. Their farm prioritization was perfect. CR had a couple of shining moments, but I think in the end they were definitely playing into Boom's game plan here. They just couldn't keep up with that early aggression, and they couldn't shut down their snowball heroes. They couldn't shut down Mikato enough, and they just gave way too much away into his lane.
Well, we do have a secondary series coming up after this, John. Of course, TNC versus T1 will be up next, and that should be a pretty fun matchup to watch as well. Both teams looking pretty strong going into this, and we'll see who can come out on top. It is MLP Dota and JohnXFire. We'll see you all again very, very soon for that secondary matchup.